Welcome to the Explainer. This is where we take complex guides and make them simple, clear, and something you can actually use. Today, we are diving deep into a practical guide for project management to help you steer any project, big or small, from start to glorious finish.
So let's start with the feeling I think we all know. That sinking feeling in your stomach when a project just starts to go off the rails. You know the one. Missed deadlines, budgets are blowing up, and the stress is just piling on. Yeah, we've all been there.
You really end up with two completely different stories, right? On one side, it's that chaos we just talked about. But on the other, when you have a solid framework, well, you get control. You get resources that are actually used in a smart way, and honestly, a much, much higher chance of success. The difference is, well, it's night and day. Okay, so let's define our terms. What exactly is a project? Because it's not your everyday routine work. A project is something special. It's temporary, it's unique. Think launching a new website or planning a huge event. The most important part is this. It has a clear beginning and a clear end. And project management? Well, that's just the how. It's the framework, the discipline. It's all the knowledge and tools you apply to make sure that project actually meets its goals. You can think of it like your GPS for getting from a simple idea all the way to a finished product. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the big picture, the project lifecycle map. Then we'll zoom in on each phase, the idea, the blueprint, and the actual build. And we'll wrap up by talking about the person at the very center of it all. Let's get into it. First up, the project lifecycle map. This is your high-level guide that's going to take us from chaos all the way to completion. The entire journey is broken down into 6 distinct phases, and they flow really logically from one to the next. You evaluate the idea, you make it official, you plan the work, you do the work, you monitor the work, and then you close it out. Each step builds on the one before it, which creates a super clear path to success. All right, let's look at phase 1, the idea. This part is so critical. It's all about validating the project before you commit any serious time or money to it. This really early stage is all about answering one single question. Should we even start this? Seriously, you use something called an opportunity study to check if the project is actually viable and if you have what it takes to get it done. This is your go/no-go moment. It's your chance to be smart before you get busy. Okay, so you got the green light. Now you move into the initialization phase, where you make it all official with a super important document, the project charter. And look, this is not just paperwork. This is the formal birth certificate for your project. It frames the objectives, identifies who's involved, and gets that formal approval to start. I love this quote. Think of the charter as a contract for the project, because when changes come up later, and trust me, they will come up, you don't just improvise. You treat it as a formal amendment to that original agreement. This one piece of discipline will protect your project from so much confusion and that dreaded scope creep down the line. Okay, moving on to phase 2, the blueprint. The project is official. Now it's time to draw the detailed map. We're moving from what and why to exactly how. Now, the planning phase isn't about doing the work itself. It's about meticulously defining how all the work is going to get done, monitored, controlled, and even closed. Honestly, this is probably the most critical phase for preventing headaches later on. A good plan really is a project half won. The result of all this work is the project plan. This is your master document, and it needs to clearly answer these 4 huge questions you see here. Why are we doing it? What are we delivering? Who is involved? And when will it be done? Getting everyone aligned on these 4 things before you start is the secret to a smooth project. And to make this plan concrete, you need the right tools. The source material points out a couple of classics. A RACI matrix is perfect for clarifying roles. It stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. No more guessing who does what. Then, a Gantt chart is a fantastic way to visualize your whole timeline and see how all the pieces connect. All right, let's talk about the next chunk, phases 3 through 5, the build and finish. We've got our blueprint, and now it's go time. This is where the plans on paper become actual, tangible results. So these next 3 phases are all interconnected.
While your team is in the execution phase, actually building the stuff, the project manager is constantly in the control phase, monitoring progress, checking it against the plan, and steering things back on course. They happen in tandem, and they both lead up to that formal closure.
And let's be real for a minute. It is extremely rare that a project follows the plan exactly. It just doesn't happen. So the key isn't having a perfect plan. It's having a clear process for managing change. This is your absolute best defense against scope creep, that slow, quiet killer of so many projects. Finishing a project well is so much more than just stopping the work. A proper closure is a formal process. You got to get official acceptance, close out the budgets, release your team. But the two most valuable steps, in my opinion, are documenting the lessons learned for next time and, of course, taking a moment to celebrate the team's success. And for our last section, the heart of the project. We've talked about the process, we've talked about the tools, but projects are driven by people. So let's talk about the qualities that make a truly great project manager. It turns out a project manager's human qualities are every bit as vital as their technical skills. A great PM trusts their team. They hold on to that big picture vision when everyone else is lost in the details. They communicate relentlessly, they're passionate, and they keep morale high by celebrating progress along the way. This quote just nails it. A great project manager has to be two things at once. You have to be a leader to inspire your team and gain their support, and you have to be a manager to handle all the details with rigor and discipline. Nailing that balance, that's the mark of a truly effective PM. So this whole framework, it isn't just theory, it's a real actionable map that you can use. From that very first opportunity study all the way to documenting the final lessons learned, you have the checkpoints to guide you. So the only question left is, now that you have the map, what's the first step you'll take on your next project? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.